Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the rest of that division right now. Indianapolis Colts. So if the Jags don't win, Colts and Texans are up next in our reverse alphabetical order of the AFC. So what's the best case for the Colts? Anthony Richardson just looks like a star right away. That has to be it.
Yeah, this to me is one of the two teams actually are in this division are amongst the widest range of outcomes. I can definitely see a world where Richardson, they're able to create this offense, with Shane Steichen and with the sort of the dry run of Jalen Hurts doing this, where they can put this thing together. And this is actually a much better team than people are giving them credit for. I can also see a world where it doesn't work at all, like it's barely functional, and they just have to get through the season without winning hardly any games. And next year is what they're actually shooting for. Now, it's important to realize that Justin Fields won himself the job last season with his performances, and yet the Bears got themselves the number 1 overall pick, given how successful that was on the field, right? And whilst we've been talking about the pathway that Jalen Hurts gives the Eagles to ascend, when his first year they won 4 games, right? So as much as there is a pathway to kind of prop things up and for this rushing style of quarterback to work and to be successful, if they're very, very bad as a passer right away, it's not going to win. Like, Richardson might give you cause for optimism and you might be excited about his future, but if he doesn't take a big step forward as a passer immediately, they will not win a lot of games. So I guess the realistic, most positive outlook is kind of like it was for Chicago last year. You come out of the season and you're really happy about where Richardson is going into year 2, and you think you can be good next year.
Yeah, I agree with all that, man. That's what I think for the Colts and the Texans coming up is just confidence in the future. I care less about, it's 9 wins for the Colts, it's 10 wins, or they win the AFC. So I don't really care about this year. I mean, that's all nice and everything. If Richardson's that good, and the rest of the Colts, who probably should have been better last year on paper, if the rest of that just comes together and they win 9 or 10 games, that's fun as a Colts fan. But the most important thing is optimism for the future. The other thing I would say too is this like high upside draft that they've drafted, this draft class of Julius Brents and all these athletes, including Richardson. If they all show signs of life earlier, like a Tariq Woolen did, right? Instead of waiting till year 2 or 3, this draft class comes together right now. I think that's all best case scenario for the Colts. Worst case is Anthony Richardson can't complete a pass. And even if, listen, here's the other part of his athleticism. He kind of got banged up a little bit. I talk a lot about injuries for quarterbacks they own that, right? It's not so much the style or your size. It's how you play the game. Richardson had those games where he'd get banged up and come out, much like a Fields, where you just miss some time. If that becomes a problem and he's just, his inaccuracy is just horrible for the offense. It's just impossible to move the ball. That's all in this worst case scenario, and the Colts look as incompetent as they did last year.
It's non-viability for Anthony Richardson is the worst case scenario. Like it looks a lot like it did for Malik Willis last season, where you're saying this can't work. Like, we cannot do this. Now he's going to have more leeway than Malik Willis did last year. Like, even if that's the scenario, he gets put on the bench and they're still working long-term to try and, get him to that level. But that's the worst case, is that either he doesn't make it to week 1 because they're like, he's not good enough to play right now, or they put him out there week 1, which is even worse. And he's not ready and can't complete a pass. And, the passing game cannot function. And he doesn't look like Cam Newton, in terms of athleticism and the ability to just like carry defensive ends 5 yards down the field, like all these kinds of things. And you look at him and you say, he can't be on the field right now. Like, we're going to need, I don't know how long it's going to take, but he cannot play at the moment. Like that I think is the worst case scenario for them.